Keep talking, dear.
This version, they'll get up and shout, you'll have to do it. This would be great. I'm the Halifax fan goes mad.
Drummond looks disappointed on the turn. It looks a bit heavy, not here. That's a bit way a bit too. I can see those close out moving.
You know, not too bad, you know.
Looks like a New Zealander, that number 9, doesn't it? I'm not sure it's that from Millham.
Memberships are now due for renewal and must be renewed before the 26th.
Good afternoon, we're at Thrum Hall for this Stoneleigh Special Championship game between Halifax and Warrington. The teams this afternoon: Halifax at 1, Graham Eady; 2, Mick Taylor; 3, Colin Whitfield; at 4, Ian Wilkinson; 5, Wilf George; 6 is Scott Wilson; 7, Gary Stevens; 8, Roy Dickinson; 9, Sean McCallion; 10, Graham Beavers; 11, Paul Dixon; 12, Keith Neller; and 13, John Pendlebury. Substitutes for Halifax: 14, Brian Juliff; 15, Mick Scott. Warrington at 1, Brian Johnson; 2, Des Drummond; 3, Paul Cullen; at 4, Barry Peters; 5, Joe Raparty; 6, John Woods; 7, Keith Holden; at 8, Kevin Tamati; 9, Mark Roskell; 10, Tony Humphreys; 11, Gary Sanderson; at 12 is Mark Roberts; and 13, Billy McGinty. Substitutes for Warrington: 14, Bob Jackson; 15, Les Boyd. Referee this afternoon is John Holdsworth from Kippax. His touch judges Mr O'Connor and Mr Oates. So Warrington make their first away match of the season here at Thrum Hall. Last season they beat Halifax 3 times, completed a league double and also won in the John Player Trophy at Wilderspool. But Halifax of course won the Silk Cut Challenge Cup last season in the epic final against St Helens, and no doubt will be hoping to make a good impression in their first home league match of the season, where there's a very big crowd to come and watch. As usual, very bad weather here at Halifax. It's been raining all the way down the M62. Although the pitch does look in quite good condition.
Why did they stop the referee on? Oh, well, we don't know. I thought they knew him.
2 captains this afternoon, Gary Stevens and Kevin Tamati, taking his time as he comes up to meet the referee, Mr Holdsworth. Warrington will be looking for 2 victories out of 2 this afternoon after beating Hunslet last week, while Halifax travelled to Widnes and found themselves getting beat by 28 points to 6. And the teams will change round, so Warrington will be playing from left to right in this first half as we look in the white shirts with the primrose and blue V. Halifax in the blue and white hoop jerseys and white shorts. No doubt conditions underfoot going to be very greasy indeed. It'll be Warrington who'll get the game underway with John Woods, who kicked 9 goals in the first match against Hunslet. Referee just checking with his two linesmen. And the match of the day between Halifax and Warrington is underway. John Woods kicks deep. Bounces ugly. Pendlebury hands it on. First touch for Mickey Taylor. Taylor going across field, but he's well tackled. 3 Warrington players moving quickly up. Billy McGinty in the tackle there with Mark Roskell. Gary Stevens swings it into Beavers. Beavers try to charge forward. Keith Holding with a good tackle, and John Woods. McGinty also in with the tackle. Stevens misses out one man. Good tackle there on Keith Nellock by Mark Roskell. Comes on this near side. Roskell's there again with a good tackle. Gary Stevens once more sends it out to John Pendlebury. He clears to relieve the danger. Brian Johnson comes for it, takes it superbly. Johnson then moves forward, goes to beat his man on the outside, sends a nice pass out to Joe Rapati. Rapati crashing down that far touchline, beats one man, just caught, had his ankles tapped, but great move there. Warrington now on the first real attack of the match. Out to Keith Holden. Holden feeds Tony Humphreys. Humphreys trying to charge through, stopped by Neller and Gary Stevens. Roskell goes to acting half-back. First receivers Kevin Tamety, looking to get away from one man, but just falls to Seamus McCallion. Roskell once more, on to Billy McGinty. McGinty looking to fight his way through. Halifax forwards though moving up quickly, allowing him no room to move. Roskell once more to Keith Holden. Woods running around with Holden. Nice slip pass onto Mark Roberts, but Roberts was brilliantly tackled by John Pendlebury. 6th tackle then for Warrington. Holden sends it back to John Woods. Woods kicks for the corner. Cullen's there, but Paul Cullen judged to be offside by John Holdsworth. Good decision by the referee. John Holdsworth then, the top referee in the game, and right on the spot there to see Paul Cullen just offside. The ball comes on the near side, hits the top of the main stand here, which has been duly furbished during the close season with new seats. McCallion then, second part of the penalty. Dickinson will take it, but he runs straight into Tony Humphreys, and Humphreys brings him down. Dickinson makes a couple of yards. McCallion sends it out right to Stevens, plays it on short this time to Graham Beavers, but Beavers is well tackled in midfield by Gary Sanderson. McCallion on this near side to Gary Stevens. Colin Whitfield looks for a gap. He's well tackled though by Paul Cullen. Scott Wilson this time to Gary Stevens. Stevens looking to put a good kick downfield, but Des Drummond has it. Des Drummond then looking to beat his man on the outside and push into touch. A little bit of argument there between Dixon and Drummond, and a little bit of a skirmish there. Physical action for the referee as they're talking to Paul Dixon, but the referee stays. It's a scrum down. Oh, that has really warmed the crowd up now. So a scrum down just outside the 25 of Warrington. Gary Stevens prepares to put the ball in, and it goes. Ball comes straight out. Scrum will have to reform once more. Stevens puts the ball in once again, comes straight out, but Keith Holden there, beating Gary Stevens to the ball. Great play there from Holden. John Woods now, on to Gary Sanderson. Sanderson though, quickly tackled by Keith Nello. Holden once more, out to Kevin Tamety. Short to McGinty, crunching tackle on McGinty, the ball's loose. Kevin Tamety picks it up, but does well though. Halifax not back in possession. And Bill McGinty injured there after a bone-jarring tackle. Not been the most luckiest player in the world with injuries, and looks to be out flat at the moment. It was a real bone-crunching tackle. The ball jarred up out of his hands. And it's treatment for Billy McGinty with 4 minutes gone of the match. An action-packed start. It doesn't look good news for Bill McGinty at the moment. Back to his feet though, little groggy.
MLG 3831. MLG
Bob Jackson warming up below me. That's to make an early appearance in the match. And it looks like Bob Jackson will be making an early appearance for the injured Billy McGinty. And McGinty a little bit concussed as he walks off, which means the quick appearance of Bob Jackson. And Bob Jackson makes the appearance on Thrum Hall. So an important scrum, but Warrington have the penalty. Halifax backing down before the referee wanted them to come together. And Warrington can relieve the pressure with a penalty from John Woods. Puts a touch over on that far side, right-footed, sails quite safely in. Mark Roskell runs to take the second bat of the penalty. Coming on the burst is Gary Sanderson, misses him out and brings in Kevin Tamati. Tamati barges, stopped just short of the halfway line. First touch for Bob Jackson, but hands on to Tony Humphries, gets away from one tackle. Received a high tackle from Roy Dickinson, which the referee didn't spot. And the referee there spotting Scott Wilson offside. Referee right on the spot again. And John Woods will try and put the first points on the board. As I said, kick 9 last week on the opening day of the season against Hunslet. So John Woods with this relaxed style, just a couple of steps back. Long way out. 45 yards or so. Woods comes up, he strikes it well, hovers, just goes left of the post. It's taken by Mick Taylor, the close season sign for Oldham, from Oldham to Halifax. So it's still Halifax 0, Warrington 0. John Woods' effort just going wide of the uprights. Halifax bringing the ball away just inside their own 25. It's out to Gary Stevens, short, then it goes to Beavers, but good tackling there from Warrington. McCallion, Stevens, Dickinson looking for the gap. Dickinson still going, still trying to barge his way out. John Woods there with a good tackle with Gary Sanderson and Kevin Tamati. McCallion once more to John Pendlebury. Pendlebury, a little kick over the top. John Woods is there, takes it safely. And the linesman's on this near side. But the referee has saw the infringement. Kevin Tamati, the offender. Halifax have the penalty, which brings over Colin Whitfield, who's just returned from a very successful spell in Australia. And has he got touch? Yes, he has. Good kick from Colin Whitfield. Must apologise for our position here at Halifax. As you can see, it's probably not in the best position. Chances here now for Graham Beavers. Beavers charges to the line, Warrington then being asked to defend. 8 minutes gone, it's going across the line to Dickinson. Dickinson trying to barge his way through. Gary Stevens this time. Nice ball, tried to charge through was Graham Eady. Good tackle there from Mark Roskell. McCallion this time, outright with Stevens, tries a drop goal. Hits the post, comes back out, Dickinson drops it. Well, that's a knock on and the scrum down. So an important scrum. Midway inside the 25, Warrington in possession though, Keith Holden. Gary Sanderson goes himself from the play of the ball, makes a couple of yards before he's brought down. Roskell, bad pass, but Tamati took it well. Managed to get the ball back to Tony Humphries. Mark Roskell then acting half-back, sends it back to Keith Holden, gives a dummy, tries to straighten up. Well, Halifax cover quickly up. 6 tackle then for Warrington, not made much ground at the moment. John Woods is waiting. John Woods then, the good chip kick through himself, he's following it himself. The ball kicked through, finally picked up by Mickey Taylor, but Mickey Taylor's going backwards, he drops the ball offside. Yes, the referee right on the spot again. Spotting offside Scott Wilson. Warrington tap it, Kevin Tamati, but the ball bounces out of his hands. On the attack now, Dixon. Dixon still going, still Paul Dixon. Dixon still going. Mark Roberts finally with a good tackle with Bob Jackson. Dickinson this time, short to Beavers. He runs into Humphreys Jackson. Some hard running, some hard tackling in these opening 10 minutes at the moment. Gary Stevens sends it out to Pendlebury. Pendlebury tries to go through himself, gets the ball back to Wilson, the ball's gone loose, picked up by Keith Holden, has he got legs, has it out to Barry Peters. Barry Peters sprinting for the corner, he gets up again, plays it back this side to Bob Jackson. Jackson beats his man on the outside, and Warrington set play to inside the Halifax 25 with a storming move. Holden this time sends it out to Gary Sanderson. Sanderson trying to go through himself, there's 3 Halifax forwards there to bring him down. Goes out to Tamati. Tamati swings one out to John Woods. Woods looking to go through himself down the centre. Good tackle there coming in from Beavers and Pendlebury. Goes with Keith Holden this time. Holden slipped past, but Peters was already. Hell's got the ball. The ball went loose and Halifax in possession. But then Halifax lose possession and Warrington have 6 more tackles on the Halifax 25. Peters up with the ball. This time it's Holden onto John Woods. Juggles with it, gives the dummy, goes back left. Can't evade the tackle of Beavers and Dixon. Roscoe this time, out to Kevin Tamati. Tamati short to Roberts. Roberts is bursting through. He's only got Edie to beat. He's going for the corner. Will he beat him? No, a great tackle from Graham Edie right on the Halifax try line. Wanting to know on the attack. Brian Johnson will wait for this one. Johnson swings it to Des Drummond. He juggles with it. Drummond slips though. Wanting to know have 6 more tackles. 6 more tackles then. It's out to Cullen. Cullen to Tamati. He took it well. Kevin Tamati back to Paul Cullen, swings it out to Keith Holden, hits it on now to Barry Peters. Peters has got Rapati to his left. Joe Rapati then storming for the corner. Will he get there? Yes, he will. First try of the afternoon. Joe Rapati in the corner. Great pass from Barry Peters. Right across the line there. And it was Joe Rapati who scampered for the corner after a great pass from Barry Peters. The first try goes to Joe Rapati. Warrington 4, Halifax 0. Joe Rapati the scorer. After a nice pass from Barry Peters, after it looks as if it was held from Mick Taylor. But Warrington up with the scoring with Joe Rapati. A fine try in the corner. And the Warrington fans appreciate that. 7 or 8 coach loads have come down, plus the number of cars to support the Whites this afternoon. John Woods then with a difficult conversion attempt on that far touch line. He comes up. It strikes it well, but just goes across the face of the goal. So it's Warrington 4, Halifax 0, the try scorer Joe Rapati. And there's 13 minutes gone of the match. So John Pendlebury to restart for Halifax. Lofted deep kick, Brian Johnson comes for it, takes it well, hands it on to try scorer Joe Rapati. Rapati charging forward, knocks off McCallion, but there's Dixon there to help him in the tackle. Still the rain comes down here in Halifax, making conditions very hard at the moment. Ball very greasy as Bob Jackson storms forward. Roscoe misses out Sanderson, brings in Tamati. Tamati turns back to John Woods. Woods looking to find a gap, but quickly smothered by Dixon. Holden. Graham Eady then bounces off lift, but takes it safely. Graham Eady then runs straight. Makes it just inside the Warrington half of the field before he's brought down. Dickinson. But he's pushed back by Kevin Tamati and Bob Jackson. McCallion to Stevens. Stevens out to Nello. Nello trying to barge his way through. He's stopped on the halfway line by Mark Roskell and Mark Roberts. This time it's Colin Whitfield. Whitfield trying to storm through. Good tackle from Jackson and Sanderson. Whitfield plays it quickly to Stevens. Out right to McCallion. Pendlebury this time, looks for support and finds it from Dixon. Dixon still going, the ball goes loose and it's picked up by Tony Humphries. And Warrington back in possession, Gary Sanderson left with Bob Jackson. Jackson trying to drive his way through. Mark Roskell goes himself, swings it back to Kevin Tamati. .15.5 minutes gone in this first half. Warrington 4, Halifax 0. Keith Holden in possession for Warrington, looking for a gap himself. Roskell to John Woods, out to Barry Peters. Peters looks for support, can't find any. Sixth tackle, 10 yards inside their own half. Roskell to John Woods, it goes behind him. Gary Sanderson kicks it, but that was a knock on. And a scrum down. And we may see the new rule in operation. The new rule this season. On the sixth tackle. A knock on still counts as the turnover. Warrington out marking the man, which they're allowed to do as the ball is played. It's Gary Stevens, short this time to Graham Beavers. McCallion goes through his legs, plays it on to Gary Stevens. Nello drops the ball. Warrington in possession. It's on to Gary Sanderson. Sanderson makes 5 or 6 yards before he's stopped by McCallion and Beavers. Comes on this near side to Mark Roberts. Once again, the Halifax cover moving quickly up. Holden. Short pass to Tamati, but Tamati was well tackled on the halfway line. Keith Neller and John Pendlebury it was. This time it's Roskell out left with John Woods. Floated past to Barry Peters. Peters trying to get the ball back, but he's dumped to the floor and knocks the ball out in the process. And the end result is a scrum down. Gary Stevens comes round to put the ball in for Halifax. Both packs of forwards trying to gain the upper hand. Ball goes into the second row, but the referee lets it go. Scott Wilson looking for a gap himself. Good tackle, Keith Holden. This time it's Colin Whitfield. Wilson on this near side to Stevens, brings in Nella driving forward. Good tackle from Mark Roberts. McCallion this time, out to Gary Stevens. Pendlebury. And there's a huge gap now for Dixon. Dixon's through, got Johnson to beat him. Dixon's still going, finds support from Stevens. Good tackle from Mark Roberts there, but a try looks certain. Halifax still on the attack, no chances here. But Beavers loses the ball and Warrington have it with Keith Holden. Should be scored there, 3-2. Des Drummond comes away from the play of the ball, charges forward, clears his lines well. But Halifax really then had a golden opportunity to tie the scores when Dixon was right through, but it took a great tackle from Mark Roberts to stop him. Goes out to Tony Humphries. Coming up to halfway through this first half, still that only try on the board from Warrington from Joe Rapati as Gary Sanderson's in possession. And that's 6 tackles for Warrington. Still midway inside their own half, it goes out to John Woods. Woods kicks for touch and Mickey Taylor knocks the ball on. And that's a scrum down over on that far side. Keith Holden then puts the ball in. Warrington in possession. John Woods linking up Wells. Brian Johnson looking to go through the centre, beats one man. Finally stopped by his opposite number, Graham Eady. Professionalism from Eady then, not allowing him to play the ball as John Woods has it. And the ball goes loose. Gary Sanderson does well to retrieve the ball. So scrum down, 10 yards inside the Halifax half. Both front rows trying to get the upper hand as Halifax in possession. Stevens swings it out to Scott Wilson. Wilson trying to beat John Woods but can't. Outright this time. Taylor goes himself in to play the ball. He's going backwards and can't get the ball away as it's smothered. McCallion out to Stevens. Warrington offside. Gives Halifax a penalty. And Colin Whitfield looks like we'll try and pull 2 points back for Halifax. Directly in front of the posts, 45 yards out. Whitfield then, chance to pull 2 points back. Very capable of kicking this type of goal from long range. One of his specialities as Whitfield comes up. It strikes it high, it's got the distance, but it hasn't got the direction. But Halifax should regain possession as Warrington have to drop out from their own 25-yard line. And it's John Woods who does that. Straight down the centre to the hands of Graham Eady. Eady then storming forward, but crunching tackle from Tamati. It's out to Whitfield. And the ball's loose. And ball being pinched in the tackle gives Halifax another penalty. And Colin Whitfield will have another go, will he? Colin Whitfield will have another go to try and bring Halifax's first points of the afternoon. Similar position, just a bit to the left this time. Asking for more sand. Whitfield then, second attempt in a matter of minutes. Comes up, once again he strikes it well, but once again he hasn't got the direction. But once again Halifax should regain possession from a drop out from the Warrington 25, taken by John Woods. On the floor this time. Safely taken, but Wilkinson falls to the tackle of Gary Sanderson. Taylor going across field though, and dragged to the floor by Tony Humphreys. McCallion left to Stevens, floated past Tanella, good tackle from Kevin Tamati. And they push Keith Nella back, matter of yards. Whitfield goes himself in to play the ball. Good tackle though, coming in from Mark Roskell. McCallion near side to Pendlebury. Well taken by Wilson. Sixth tackle then. 10 yards inside the Warrington half. Stevens on this near side. But his pass sails straight into touch. And that's 6 tackles, and that should be Warrington ball. And it is. Jackson plays it. Halifax a mile offside. Referee lets it go as Tamsy tries to burrow his way through. Line on the tackle at the moment. Roscoe left to Holden, short to Humphreys. Humphreys storming down the centre. Makes good ground before he's finally stopped by Wilson and Dixon. Keith Holden gives the dummy, straightens up. Still Keith Holden looks for a gap down the centre and finds it. He's got support from Roberts. Roberts is streaking for the line. Will anybody stop him? What a break from Keith Holden. What a try from Mark Roberts. What a fantastic break there from Keith Holden. Jink one way, little side step, found a huge gap in the Halifax defence. He found he only had Graham Meady in front of him, but he also had Mark Roberts to his left hand side. A perfect pass and Roberts unopposed under the post. Warrington 8, Halifax 0. With a conversion to come right in front of the posts from John Woods. Woods then, and no mistake from the Warrington standoff. And it's Halifax 0, Warrington 10, with 26 minutes gone in this first half. A fine break from Keith Holden. Fine support play from Mark Roberts. John Pendlebury then once again restarts. Bob Jackson's there, takes it safely. And Jackson drives over on that far side and makes good ground before he's finally stopped. First receiver this time will be Kevin Tamati. Keith Holden took it well, short to Mark Roberts, but the referee spots a forward pass. And that will be a scrum down midway inside the Warrington half of the field. Stevens puts the ball in, Halifax in possession. Holden quickly round, knock on there by Wilson as he kicks it through. Whitfield's right through the centre, and Whitfield will score. Colin Whitfield scores there. A alternate arc-on from Scott Wilson. Referee didn't see it, I don't think. Play quickly carried on, it was a kick through, Whitfield was through. The bounce of the ball favoured Halifax. Picked it up and dived under the post for Halifax's first try of the afternoon. And Colin Whitfield brings Halifax back into the game. And Whitfield should be able to convert his own try right in front of the posts. Whitfield then comes up right-footed and makes no mistake. And that brings Halifax right back into the game. Halifax 6, Warrington 10. A try and conversion from Colin Whitfield. Woods quickly takes it. And the ball is dropped. And that's a knock-on straight away. Scrum's turn. Ball comes away of Halifax, but Gary Sanderson comes round well. Dixon this time makes 5 or 6 yards before he's stopped by Jackson, and Sanderson once more goes right this time. Crunching tackle there from Kevin Tamati, assisted by Bob Jackson. Gary Stevens this time. Pendlebury short now to Nello. Nello going nowhere, throws a risky pass back to Pendlebury, but Pendlebury finally slips and pounced upon by Tony Humphreys. Wilf George down the centre, has a huge gap, storming through. Great tackle from Kevin Tamati. Great tackle there as George is storming through, Jackson tapped his heels and Tamsy came through with a good tackle. A kick downfield, putting Warrington under pressure. Brian Johnson takes it. He's got Joe Rapati with him. Rapati storming forward. Still Joe Rapati does well to get a few more extra yards. Warrington then under pressure. Des Drummond then trying to charge his way out. Makes a couple more yards to clear his lines. 10 minutes left in this first half. Warrington then under pressure at the moment, deep inside their own half. Tony Humphries. This time it's Jackson. Good tackle from Dixon and McCallion. Roscoe this time to John Woods. Woods out to Keith Holden. Holden kicks downfield. It looks a good one. But the ball back, says the linesman over on that far side. So the ball goes in, Halifax once again in possession. Pendlebury throws one out to Eady. Chances here now for Graham Eady. Eady well tackled by Johnson and pushed back as there was danger hit there for Warrington. This time Colin Whitfield goes himself, doesn't make much ground. McCallion left to Pendlebury. Chances here, obstruction. Referee lets it go. Pendlebury still going, trying to get the ball away but can't. Seamus McCallion acting half-back this time for Halifax. Sends it out right. Dickinson swings it back to Colin Whitfield. Whitfield, oh, great tackle from Mark Roscoe. Stevens comes blindside, but a poor pass and Roscoe dives on it well. Plays it quickly to Kevin Tamati. Inside comes Paul Cullen. Offside against Halifax, and Warrington have the penalty, which will enable them to relieve the pressure. And John Woods makes no mistake with a kick for touch. Second pass of the penalty. First receiver then is Kevin Tamati. 3 Halifax forwards are there to meet him. Keith Holden coming on the burst. Holden gets support from Brian Johnson. Line on the tackle. Beavers, and finally the referee decides to do something. An extra 10 yards for talking from referee John Holdsworth. Here's Graham Beavers, who then acknowledges the referee. Go down and say a few words under his breath to him. John Woods then with the kick for touch. A chance here to set Warrington up on the attacking side of the Halifax 25. Roscoe takes the tap, hands it on to Des Drummond. Drummond will crash in, beats one man. Drummond still going, swung round in the tackle. Roscoe out to Kevin Tamati. Tamati trying to drive forward. Warrington inching closer to the Halifax line with each forward run. This time it'll be Tony Humphries. This set move, a couple of drives to the posts, and then a set move. May see it here, there's a few players waiting for this one. Here comes to Keith Holden, swings it back to Gary Sanderson. Warrington though still on the attack. Mark Roscoe. 6th tackle then for Warrington. 5 yards from the Halifax line. It's played back to Keith Holden. Tries a drop goal, and it's safely through from Keith Holden. Warrington increased the lead by a further point. It's Halifax 6, Warrington 11. An extra point added to the Warrington score. A drop goal from Keith Holden. A little over 5 minutes left. It's quickly taken by Pendlebury, and he collects it well. Gary Stevens gets away for a couple. Stevens now moving forward. Crunching tackle though. Beavers. Good strong tackle coming in there from Tony Humphries and Mark Roscoe. McCallion this time on this near side. Stevens swings it out to Pendlebury. Floated past to Dixon. Good strong tackle from Woods, the ball's loose. It's picked up by Whitfield. Whitfield swings it back to Wilf George. George storms down the touchline, but there's 3 Warrington players there. Drummond, Peters and Cullen to bring him down close to this near touchline. Wilf George again, beats one man. Good strong challenging run from Wilf George. 6th tackle for Halifax. It goes out to John Pendlebury. High bomb, high up into the air. Brian Johnson's there. The ball's loose, it falls loose. Stevens hits the crossbar and finally bounces dead. Well, that would have been a bit of luck for Halifax if the ball was kicked through, hit the underside of the crossbar, but the ball just bouncing dead before Gary Stevens could get there. And Warrington have a tap from their own 25. It's Gary Sanderson who takes the ball for Warrington. Roskell swings it out to Bob Jackson. Jackson head down. Makes more valuable yardage. This time it's Kevin Tamati storming forward as usual. A good strong run from Kevin Tamati. Roskell. This time it's John Woods looking for a gap down the centre. And the penalty there. Fist thrown in the tackle. The referee right on the spot to calm things down. He's going to call over Paul Dixon, who's already been warned once for an early attack on Des Drummond. This time decides to attack John Woods, just gets a little talking to from John Holdsworth. And John Woods with the kick for touch, makes no mistake. So 3.5 minutes left in this first half. Can Warrington get another score on the board? It's Kevin Tamati. Midway inside the Halifax half of the field, Mark Roskell's acting half-back, sends it on to Tony Humphreys. Humphreys gets the ball back, Roskell going across field, looks for a gap himself, nearly finds it, just falls to a tackle. Holden, short to Roberts charging forward, takes me out to the 25 and 10 minutes into the sin bin for Dixon. And that's his 3rd attack, 10 minutes into the sin bin for Paul Dixon, that's his 3rd time. He attacked Des Drummond in the 3rd minute, attacks John Woods just a couple of minutes ago. Now decides to have a go at Mark Roberts, and his punishment is 10 minutes in the sin bin. Halifax crowd having a go at their own player, I'm not surprised. As Paul Dixon is told to cool off 10 minutes in the Halifax sin bin. And gives John Woods perhaps a very easy kick right at the end of this first half, which will give Warrington a 7-point lead at the interval. And Mark Roberts very shaken after that tackle. Referee stops the clock. Mark Roberts back to his feet, a little bit groggy and concussed after a violent attack on him from Paul Dixon. And John Woods then right in front of the post, 25 yards, a little less out. 1 goal so far this afternoon. Comes up and strikes it safely through, his 2nd of the afternoon. And Warrington have a 7-point lead. It's Halifax 6, Warrington 13. So Warrington then with a penalty goal right at the end of this first half. Now leading by 13 points to 6 as John Pendlebury restarts for Halifax. Bob Jackson's there, bounces awkwardly for him, but not for Joe Reparty. And Joe Reparty storms forward and clears his lines well with a good strong run from Joe Reparty. Tamati. Keith Holden this time, short to Kevin Tamati. Tamati knocks off one man, storms forward again. Now we're into the final seconds of this first half as Keith Holden's in possession for Warrington, looking for a gap, swings it to Woods. Woods there, did well to take it under pressure. Holden, Bob Jackson this time. Jackson with a kick downfield, forcing Graham Mead to go back. Paul Cullen and Barry Peters storming forward. Graham Eady takes it safely. Eady storms forward, knocks off one man. Good tackle from Des Drummond, and Drummond going in strong. Referee comes round to have a look what's going on. It's on to Wilf George. George storms forward this time. Got looking down the centre. Great tackle there from Tony Humphries, Bob Jackson and Gary Sanderson. It goes back to Colin Whitfield. Whitfield decides to kick down straight into the hands of Johnson. The ball though bounces out of his hands. And that'll be a knock-on and scrum down right at the end of this first half. Now playing time added on. Ball goes in, comes straight out, so we'll have to reform once more. And that's a penalty to Halifax, foot up in the scrum. So chances here for Halifax right at the end of this first half. Just a matter of seconds. And Mark Roskell wanting attention. Referee restarts the clock. There's Colin Whitfield. Swings it straight into the hands of Brian Johnson. And there goes the half-time hooter. Warrington carry on. Rapati storming down that far touchline. Rapati crashes forward again. He's still going. The hooter's gone. The referee hasn't heard it. His play's going on. Gary Sanderson. And that is the end of the first half. Warrington going at the interval, leading by 13 points to 6. Try from Joe Departure and Mark Roberts, 2 goals from John Woods, a drop goal from Keith Holden. Halifax's reply, a try from Colin Whitfield. So the teams return for the second half. Warrington leading by 13 points to 6. Billy McGinty's made a return for Warrington. Billy McGinty back onto the field.
McGinty's back. McGinty's back. No Roberts. So Roberts has come back.
So Billy McGinty back on for Mark Roberts, who was obviously injured in that tackle from Dixon, who will be still staying in the sin bin for the start of this second half. So Mark Roberts just passing in front of us, leaving with an injury. So John Pendlebury restarts. Goes under Bob Jackson's foot. Early second half touch for Billy McGinty. Back on for the second half. Bob Jackson storms out of his own 25 before he's brought down by John Pendlebury and Dickinson. Back to John Woods. The ball will bounce to Graham Eady. And Eady once again really charging forward, but a good tackle from John Woods. Early touch for Beavers. He runs into Humphries and Humphries brings him down with a good tackle. Dickinson again. Tamati, Humphries, Roskell on the tackle for Warrington. McCallion switched it with Stevens out to Pendlebury. Pendlebury trying to send Nella through. Good tackle from Mark Roskell. Plays it quickly, comes back to Gary Stevens. Stevens floated past to Wilson. Warrington move up, and Kevin Tamati and Tony Humphries and Bob Jackson in the tackle. Play quickly. McCallion short to Stevens. Pendlebury run around with Stevens. Stevens now moving through. Good tackle from Billy McGinty. And that's 6 tackles and the turnover. McGinty plays it. Barry Peters swings it onto Bob Jackson. Jackson makes a couple of yards before he's brought down. Roskell to Tamati. Out to John Woods. Skips out of one tackle. Nice pass out to Brian Johnson. Johnson cuts back inside Whitfield. Gets the ball away. And finally it's out now to Des Drummond. He's been down that far touchline. crashes it out of one tackle and is brought into touch by Will George. So we scrum down just inside the Halifax half of the field. Ball goes in for Stevens, Halifax in possession, Wilson, Whitfield, good tackle from Paul Cullen. Gary Stevens once more, long floated pass to Wilkinson. Wilkinson tries to storm through, gets away from one tackle. Wilkinson now's away, he's going for the corner, he's got support, great cover tackle from Jordan Party. What a great cover tackle there as Wilkinson was going right through. He had Mickey Taylor on his right, who had nobody with him. What a great cover tackle there from Jordan Party, saved a certain try. As Wilkinson was going through, he had Mickey Taylor on his right, decided not to use him, and Party stormed back for a great tackle. And Halifax missed up a probable chance of a try and maybe only satisfied with the 2 points from the boot of Colin Whitfield. As the rain still comes down here, still relenting down here, not stopped the duration of the match so far, and Colin Whitfield taking plenty of time about placing the ball. "25 yards, the Clover out to the right of the post as we look. Whitfield then comes up, but he's put the ball wide. And Whitfield once again misses another. But Halifax should regain possession. Warrington to drop out from their own 25-yard line. Woods skims off the greasy surface. Safely taken though over on that far side, moving forward. And Scott Wilson falls to the tackle of Billy McGinty and Tony Humphries. From the play of the ball, Whitfield gets out of one tackle, gets into Warrington half of the field before he's brought down by Mark Roskell. McCallion, Stevens swings it out to Nella, good tackle from Bob Jackson. This time it's McCallion moving forward, swings it out to Wilkinson. Jackson in there, another good tackle. Holden and Peters also there. Wilkinson plays it to himself. Barry Peters there. Sixth tackle then for Halifax, midway side of the Warrington half of the field. Gary Stevens, grubber kick, and it's a good one. And that's a ball goes straight out of play. Halifax complaining that the ball bounced. It must have gone straight out of play. Bob Jackson. Roskell. Tamati. Storming run from Tamati. John Woods sends it outright with Holden. McGinty cuts back inside. And Paul Dixon returns to the field of play after his spell in the sin bin. Holden with a good grubber kick. Well taken by Wilf George. Wilf George storms forward. Good tackle from Tony Humphries and Billy McGinty and Barry Peters all there. Dickinson throws it back to Dixon. And Dixon back from the sin bin. Gets the ball out to Stevens, but he meets a crunching reception from Tony Humphries. McCallion John Pendlebury turns, decides to keep hold of the ball wisely. McCallion swings it to Colin Whitfield. Whitfield though finds no way past Bob Jackson. McCallion short to Stevens, goes back left, brings in Eadie. Eadie storms forward. 3 Warrington players there to stop him. It's a 6th tackle for Halifax, midway inside the Warrington half of the field. Gary Stevens out to Pendlebury. Dixon swings it back to Pendlebury. Kicks it straight into the hands of Brian Johnson. Johnson, but he slips as he meets Scott Wilson. Gary Sanderson goes himself on the play of the ball, but he slips. Roskell, blindside to Tamati. Tamati clears his 25. But he's stopped over on that far side. Roskell once more. Swings it back to Bob Jackson. Jackson storming forward once more. Roskell to John Woods, to McGinty. McGinty cuts inside, finds the break, looks for support. The ball's loose. Picked up by Paul Cullen, 6 more tackles. Plays it quickly. Woods swings it out to Keith Holden. Out now to Tony Humphries. Humphries is really striding forward. Still Humphries crashes through, makes good ground there. Good 10-15 yard run from Tony Humphries. The ball's been pitched by Halifax. It's back to Will George. George now on that far side. George still going. Good tackle from Des Drummond. Also in the tackle, Keith Holden. Halifax back in possession on the attack with Dickinson, but Dickinson's going nowhere. Still the score as it was at half-time, 13-6 in Warrington's favour. Halifax trying to get back into the game, but some good Warrington defence keeping them out at the moment. McCallion this time, out to Gary Stevens. Pendlebury tries to go through himself, meets Holden and Woods. Colin Whitfield chips it through, hits Cullen. Cullen will dive on it, and quickly followed by Colin Whitfield. This time it's Joe Reparty, goes himself on the play of the ball. Makes a couple of yards before he's stopped. McCallion out to Kevin Tamati. Tamati just couldn't escape the clutches of McCallion and Dixon. John Woods to Keith Holden. Short pass to Gary Sanderson. Sanderson makes a few more extra yards before he's stopped by Dixon. Roskell, the pass goes nowhere. It goes back to Brian Johnson, and Johnson clears the danger with a kick downfield, straight into the hands of Graham Eadie. Eadie then storming forward, crashes through. Good tackle from Gary Sanderson and Tony Humphries. This time it's Gary Stevens, gets the ball away. Wilkinson swings it back to Nella. Nella coming on this near side. Good tackle from Barry Peters. Mick Taylor, he goes himself. Once again running sideways, easily picked up by Gary Sanderson and Tony Humphries. McCallion short to Pendlebury. Pendlebury trying to go through himself. Turns and tackle but can't get the ball away. Gary Sanderson and Mark Roskell there. Pendlebury plays it to himself. Storms forward once more. The ball goes loose. It's picked up by Brian Johnson. Johnson now out to Barry Peters. Peters to Reparty. Reparty storming down the near touchline. He's still going. He cuts back inside. Beats Wilson. Great storming run there from Joe Reparty. Takes place to the Halifax 25. Good play there also from Peters and Johnson. This time it's Des Drummond. Swings it out to John Woods. Woods cars it down. Lovely pass to Billy McGinty. McGinty now out to Bob Jackson. That's the forward pass to Paul Cullen. The referee spotted that one there as Warrington were in full flight over on that far side. Little over 10 minutes gone then in this second half. Warrington still leading by 13 points to 6. And it's a scrum down on that far side. The scrums wheel and turn, causing problems for the referee. Gets them sorted out. The ball goes straight in. And Warrington penalised for foot up in the scrum.
What's Eadie taking?
Ball put safe into touch by Colin Whitfield. McCallion then. In comes Wilf George. Going across field, gets the ball away. It's a sloppy pass. Stevens. Wilson. Wilson though picked off by Paul Cullen. And Mark Russell came in to help with the tackle. Comes on to Beavers. But Beavers storming across comes Bob Jackson and Keith Holden. McCallion this time, sloppy pass. Pendlebury has to pick it up off the floor. Runs straight into McGinty. Doesn't play the ball correctly, but Gary Stevens has to kick downfield. He looks a good one. Des Drummond's after it. The ball stops for him and Drummond picked it up on that far side. Storms down that far side. Beats George on the outside. The ball though goes straight into touch. Kevin Tamati injured in midfield. Back to his feet. The ball goes in, straight out, says the referee. The referee having trouble with these scrums at the moment. Ball goes in again and Warrington have a penalty. Gary Stevens not retiring. John Woodson with the kick for touch, right footed, makes no mistake. Can set Warrington now on another attack. Roskell, first receivers, Bob Jackson, he comes driving forward. Makes good ground before he's stopped by Graham Beavers. Roskell to Tony Humphreys. Humphreys gets out of one tackle. Stopped by Roy Dickinson. Tamati turns, swings it back to Holden. Holden finds the gap himself. Holden swings it back to John Woods. Woods beats one man, still going, gets the ball away brilliantly. Chances here now, the ball with Paul Cullen. Will he take it? It passes over the line. Wilf George is there, and Wilf George manages to get the ball away. And a real let-off there for Halifax as Paul Cullen seems to be going through, just juggled the ball over the line. And John was there in a tackle with Paul Cullen, dragging Wilf George back over the try line to force Halifax to drop out from underneath their own posts. 25 minutes to go. Warrington still with that 7-point lead, and that Keith Holden drop goal could prove very vital at the end of this match as Brian Johnson takes it safely for Warrington, moves forward, he's got Drummond in support, but Drummond well picked off with a good tackle from Pendlebury. Bob Jackson. Jackson plays it to himself, swings the ball back, it's loose. Roskell loses it and Halifax have it with Dixon. When they play the ball, Whitfield makes a couple more yards over on the blind side. Gary Stevens this time to Pendlebury. Pendlebury got support now here from Nello. The space was closed off by Billy McGinty and Keith Holden. Comes on this near side, Wilson on to Pendlebury. Pendlebury looking to get the ball away and does. Wilson. But John Woods, McGinty all in the tackle. The ball's loose and Warrington have it. John Woods will come up with the ball. Kevin Tamati swings it out to Keith Holden. Holden got two to his right. Cullen and Drummond picked off in midfield by Dixon. Gary Sanderson this time making extra yardage. Holden, Tamati. Once again, storming runs down the centre of the field all afternoon from Kevin Tamati. Roskell, short to John Woods, to Tony Humphreys. Humphreys looks for support, finds it from Woods, but a forward pass Referee just on the spot to see the forward pass go from Tony Humphries to John Woods. And Roy Dickinson leaves the field to be replaced by Mick Scott. And Mick Scott will go straight into the second row. Once again the scrum collapses. Graham Eady back inside to Wilkinson, but Wilkinson runs into Barry Peters, and Barry Peters there managing to smother the ball along with Keith Holden. Blindside, first touch for Mick Scott, picked off easily by Billy McGinty with a good tackle round the legs. This time it's Mick Taylor, goes himself, finds a gap. Mick Taylor's now through, Taylor's still going. Mick Taylor, good cover tackle from Tony Humphries, coming back on the Warrington 25 to bring him down with a fine tackle. Gary Stevens left with McCallion, danger here now for Pendlebury. Chances now, Whitfield storming through, and Whitfield scores. Whitfield scores his second try after a fine move across the left hand side. And Halifax right back in the game. And Colin Whitfield registers his second try of the afternoon. As the ball was moved out brilliantly off the left hand side, it went to Whitfield, he sold a little dummy, came back inside and streaked to the line. And the game now evenly poised with that try from Whitfield with little over 20 minutes to go of the match. So Colin Whitfield, 2 tries, 1 goal so far. With an important conversion attempt to try and pull the arrears just back to 1 point. He comes up and he puts it wide. Colin Whitfield certainly hasn't got his kicking boots on today. It's Halifax 10, Warrington 13. 20 minutes to go of the match. John Woods sent to restart. Chip kick into the hands of Dixon. And Dixon stalls forward. Still going. Finally hit with a strong tackle from Des Drummond and Bob Jackson. Wilf George going across field, picked off easily though. Game really warming up now. Important stage of the match, and it's Halifax who are on top now with Pendlebury. McCallion to Nello. Nello on this near side. Good strong run from Keith Nello. Gary Stevens, a little chip kick through. Chase for the ball. Stevens kicks it on. Johnson, dramatic dive to the ball. And it's Des Drummond now over that far side, streaking forward. Stopped by Wilf George on that far side. Swung out to McGinty. McGinty beats one man, storming run from McGinty. Nearly got beat 3 men before he's finally stopped. McCallion line on the tackle. Referee didn't watch as it's on to John Woods. Kevin Tamati. John Woods, that's in half back on this near side. It comes to Tony Humphries. Humphries makes another 5-6 important yards. Roskell to John Woods. Holden goes himself. Woods goes for the return. The ball goes loose. Barry Peters will pick the ball up, and that will be a knock on and a scrum down. Once again, Gary Stevens puts the ball in, and Keith Holden there. So that's twice this afternoon. It's been far too quick for Gary Stevens, which is quite unusual. As Billy McGinty storms through, beats one man. Good cover tackle coming in from Nello. Peters comes on the blind side to Sanderson. He slips as he takes it. Falls at the feet of Nello once more. Holden out to Woods. Woods gives a dummy, straightens up. Mark Roscoe will wait for this one at the acting half-back position. Goes himself, swings it to Kevin Tamati. The ball's loose. And up with the ball will come Scott Wilson. Scott. Space now for Dixon. Stopped by Bob Jackson. Plays it to McCallion, to John Pendlebury. Pendlebury striding forward, makes good ground. Stevens swings it out left with Mick Scott. Scott now, George, the ball's loose. And Warrington back in possession. And a penalty given to Halifax as Les Boyd will now come onto the field. So Les Boyd will come on for Gary Sanderson to make his appearance in the match with a little over 15 minutes to go. Warrington leading 13-10 as Wilf George takes it. Makes 5-6 yards or so before he's stopped. This time it's McCallion, swings it on to Beavers. Beavers tries to storm down the centre. First tackle of the afternoon for Les Boyd. McCallion to Stevens. Scott swings it back. Dixon, good strong tackle from Bob Jackson. McCallion once more out left with Gary Stevens. Run around move, looks for support, finds it for Meady. Nice slip pass to Whitfield. Les Boyd's over there though to stop Colin Whitfield in his tracks. Pendlebury. Les Boyd again in the tackle with Mark Roscoe this time. Sixth tackle then for Halifax. The ball's been dropped. The referee lets play go on. A long kick. Johnson fumbles it. Has to dive on it right on his own line. The Warriors will have to drop out from beneath their own posts. So John Walls to drop out from beneath his own posts. Trapped by the foot of Paul Dixon. Dixon stalls forward. Stopped on the Warrington 25, who's at the crowd with that strong, hard tackle. Halifax then on the attack. This important stage of the game now. McCallion, he's upended by Les Boyd with a strong tackle. Gary Stevens this time. On the burst comes Nello. Jackson and McGinty are there to stop him. The Halifax fans now trying to get behind the team as they're really on song, and it's Stevens swings it back to Pendlebury. He's got it stopped but gets away to Beavers. Beavers swung to the ground from Bob Jackson. Sixth tackle, what can Halifax produce? Midway inside the 25, it's on to Gary Stevens. Stevens kicks it through himself. Beavers is a mile offside. Mile offside was Beavers. He was virtually standing on the try line where the ball was kicked. I think the Warriors had placed you. It's John Woods clears the pressure as the ball sails into touch on this near side. Roscoe on to Boyd, his first touch, he crashes forward. Mark Roscoe on to Tony Humphreys. Humphreys skips out of one tackle, skips out of two tackles, still going. Good strong burrowing run there from Tony Humphreys. John Woods acting half-back. sends it out to Keith Holden. Holden looking for a gap himself and finds it. Holden's away, great play. He's got Brian Johnson. He's got an open try line. Nobody's going to stop Brian Johnson underneath the post. After all that pressure from Halifax, Brian Johnson comes back after a brilliant bit of play from Keith Holden. Well, Halifax there been pressing on the Warrington line for a good 10-15 minutes, and a brilliant piece of individual play from Keith Holden. Found a gap, he had Brian Johnson linking up, and Graham Eady was well out of position, and Brian Johnson had an easy run to the posts. And Warrington get an important score to take them 17 points to 10 in the lead, and Halifax pressure comes to nothing, and Warrington get a breakaway try, which could seal the 2 points. Holden, Keith Holden. And no mistake for John Woods. Warrington then 19, Halifax 10. 14. And Brian Juliff will come onto the field, and will replace Graham Beavers. As Warrington there take command. Keith Holden setting up Warrington's third try, the second that he set up one earlier on for Mark Roberts, and there found the brilliant gap for Brian Johnson to streak away unopposed. This time it's Des Drummond, stalls forward, makes 5 or 6 yards on the far side. Still the rain comes down, he's holding on to Boyd, charging forward. Going for support on his left hand side. Brian Johnson was coming, but he was just pulled to the ground by Mick Scott before he could get there. Roskell swings it back to Woods. Woods with a kick downfield, forcing Eady to go back deep inside his own half. Takes it safely. He's got a wall of Warrington players in front of them. One of them is John Woods, and he's pushed into touch over on that far side. The linesman's flag doesn't go up though. Wilf George, he can't make much ground, and Warrington given a penalty against them. Les Boyd there seems to have an arm injury. Says he's all right. Gary Stevens, short comes Scott, but Scott falls at the feet of Bob Jackson. Stevens once more, short to Juliff. Boyd to John Woods. Woods now looking for support, finds it from Cullen. Cullen now trying to go through himself. Finally brought down by Ian Wilkinson. Wilf George receiving treatment over on that far side. Barry Peters to Keith Holden. Holden to McGinty. McGinty comes back this side, beats one man, cuts back inside. McGinty beats another, still going. Good strong run from McGinty. Roskell right with John Woods. Tamati straightens up. Gets the ball away to John Woods. Woods then stopped by Mick Scott. This time it's Cullen. Short to Les Boyd. Boyd driving forward. Lost the support. Finds it from Roskell. Roskell throws the ball back to Keith Holden. Great pass on to Barry Peters. Peters though just caught by Wilkinson. Kevin Tamati this time goes himself in the play of the ball. Moving forward once more. 6th tackle then. John Woods takes it. Gives a dummy. Kicks it through. Ball runs into the hands over on that far side of Colin Whitfield, but Paul Cullen's there to stop him. Striding forward now Brian Juliff, and Juliff drops the ball. Referee says it went backwards. Gary Stevens, but Warrington now tackling hard, and the ball's been yanked loose, and it's Billy McGinty. A lovely pass to Keith Holden, it just goes through his hands. The idea was right there, a lovely pass floated over, just a little bit too hard for Keith Holden. But Warrington there nearly registered another try as the Halifax defence was quite short on this near side. But Keith Holden just couldn't hold the pass. Halifax in possession with Gary Stevens. Pendlebury. Shot it goes to Dixon. Wilson left with Pendlebury, swings it out to Nello. Nello finds the gap down the centre. Good tackle coming in from Mark Roskell. Pendlebury, the ball's loose, but gratefully for Halifax the ball's loose again. And the referee blows for a knock-on. And Roy Dickinson will return to the action for the injured Wilf George, who will limp off the field. Wilf George, he'll be missed by Halifax. He's done some good strong runs this afternoon. And Wilf George limps on the field. Bob Jackson also receiving treatment. He limps into the second row. And the scrum wheels and turns, which means have to go all over again as Keith Holden comes round. Ball goes in and Keith Holden penalised for feeding. The first penalty of the afternoon for that offence. Coming in the last 5 minutes of the match. Whitfield puts the kick safely into touch. McCallion taps it to Dickinson. But Dickinson pushed back by some strong tackling, which really has been the feature of Warrington's play this afternoon. Under immense pressure during this second half, but kept the Halifax attack at bay. And once again, a good tackle coming in there from Paul Cullen on Brian Juliff. McCallion, Gary Stevens, been the kingpin of the Halifax team. Everything's in with him. Taylor, oh, what a crunching tackle there from Jordan Party on Mick Taylor. And I think Mick Taylor felt that one as Gary Stevens swings it out to Pendlebury, but Pendlebury can find no way through. Gets the ball back though to Dickinson. Dickinson now, and he drops the ball. That's the knock on and a scrum down. Holden puts the ball in. Holden puts the ball in again, once in possession. John Woods. Woods now looking to go through himself. Stopped by Graham Eady and Paul Dixon. Johnson on the blind side to Kevin Tamati. The ball goes loose, McGinty goes back, but Paul Dixon has it with Mick Scott, in fact goes up with the ball. Dickinson, well taken there. Brian Juliff. Seamus McCallion acting half-back, sends it left onto Gary Stevens. Stevens jinks one way, but he's quickly wrapped up by Bob Jackson. John Woods also in the tackle. McCallion left with Pendlebury. Little chip kick through. Johnson comes over brilliantly to take it. Des Drummond takes it from the play of the ball, hands it on to Tony Humphries. Moving to the final 3 minutes of the match. Les Boyd gets a few more extra yards as the rain comes down as hard as ever this afternoon. Bob Jackson. Warrington there with a couple of tackles left, midway inside their own half. It's on to John Woods. Woods kicks downfield. Safely taken though. Wilson. Graham Eady charges his way inside the Warrington half of the field. Gary Stevens. Pendlebury drops it. Bob Jackson has it. Kevin Tamati to John Woods. Woods goes himself. Mark Roskell misses out Holden, brings in Boyd. Boyd turns out to Brian Johnson. Johnson swings it out now to Tony Humphries. Humphries storms down the centre of the field. Holden, Tamati. Keith Holden, little grubber kick through himself and follows it. Keith Holden kicks it past, he was caught off the ball by Juliff. Referee lets play go on right on the Halifax line. The final minutes of the Stones Better Championship match at Strum Hall. Seeing Warrington leading at the moment by 19 points to 10. John Pendlebury. Nice ball releasing the gap now. Nello hits Wilkinson, goes behind him. And Mickey Taylor dives on it. 6 tackle then for Halifax. Juliff goes straight behind Pendlebury. Picked up by Dixon, gets it to Dickinson. And Dickinson kicks downfield into the hands of Brian Johnson. Johnson now going across field. Still Brian Johnson onto Drummond. Drummond, he's well tackled by Wilson. Brian Johnson once more gives a dummy, goes the blind side. He's an extra 5-6 yards before he stopped. Keith Holden swings it back. The ball goes loose, picked up by Des Drummond. Drummond storms down the centre. Now moving into injury time. Tamati goes himself, goes for support, just goes behind Cullen, and Nella picks it up for Halifax. Stevens swings it out to Pendlebury, but Pendlebury falls to the tackle of Boyd, and there goes the final hooter. Warrington register their second victory of the season. A tough encounter here at Thrum Hall, winning by 19 points to 10. Tries coming from Brian Johnson, Joe Reparty and Mark Roberts. 3 goals for John Woods and a drop goal for Keith Holden. Halifax reply coming from 2 tries from Colin Whitfield and 1 conversion. So Warrington registered their second victory of the season. Halifax still look for their first points. Final score is Halifax 10, Warrington 19.